All right. Hello and welcome, my friends. Hambbage here, and I don't know why we want to take her pillow. That sounds like an awful thing to do. Let's leave her her pillow. There's some sad news in the world of cheating Minecraft, or, cheating as in I'm cheating on you guys with my own worlds. Wooten is dead as of this morning. It has gone down. Happy February, by the way, everybody. We made it. Um, Yeah, I'll have to find a new world. Good reminder. And that one was big. I was just kind of building a very chill base and growing up. Uh, Kind of made the hill fort secure location, and then did all the farm, massive bees, um, and had recently found a mushroom island that I was using for mob-free diamond mining, and gathering up a lot of goodies. And I found, I was at like 16 because I was low on iron for picks, and um, went into an underwater ravine um, just to check the biome. I was kind of like just extending out tunnels to see how far things reached and, how much more room did I have, that kind of stuff. And um, was like, okay, this is all still in Mushroom Island biome, so I want to put a bridge out across it, and was in the process of doing that, and uh, my block not only went too high and blocked out the tunnel, but it blocked out all my light, and of course my escape to air, and I ended up drowning. But I was trying to do everything I could to save it because I didn't have a block to stand on. I was trying, I guess, kind of like that. I was trying to make an air hole above me, and then I paused in the middle of it to go golden apple to get a little bit more time once my air ran out. But I didn't have any respiration or anything like that. Yeah, I wasn't that far along in the game, and yeah, it can happen. You gotta remember. So, reminder to us: it's a dangerous Minecrafty world out there. All right, we just want to get these trees. I think kind of right at this inlet is where we're gonna, maybe come just off the hillside here. I don't know if we want to do much contouring of um, this little canal. Those are all things that, like, eventually I would love to do, um, but naturally are going to come after our attempt at how did we get here. So I did do some homework. Went and checked out Logical Geek Boy. Actually, I should give full credit. I last evening I was hanging out in the Twitch stream of one of my favorites, Jester Woot. It's Jester, like, a court jester. Woot W00T. He's a softcore hard Minecrafter. He usually plays hardcore as well, but had found a world that he thought looked really awesome, and kind of stepped back and was like, I have a cool idea for a base. This was right when 18 came out, and he was like, I love the terrain features of this. I want to make a base, and I don't just want to have it go down because I'm playing in hardcore. So, and props to everybody for that. That's something I think so many people lose track of. Especially it can happen from my attitude because I'm kind of one of those. If I'm not playing hardcore, I'm not really into it, and um, I dismiss a lot of that as just if if you're gonna play, be ready to lose your world. Well, I think that he's absolutely right, and he's kind of reminding me too. And I haven't had as much chance to see him. Obviously, I've been streaming now. That's a lot of extra hours um, that I don't have to be watching. So I was in there hanging out, doing a little bit of chatting last night, and just said, "Hey, Good to catch up with you a little bit. Now, did we have I mean, it doesn't matter. Let's just go with a new crafting table right here and make some more chests because we got way too much stuff on our hands. 18, not really gonna be enough, but it will help us here for a minute. All right, let's do that. That. Um, those, I guess. Really, we should kind of reset all this, but I think we can kind of work our way back. Like, we're not going to want to have dirt. Um, maybe we should do a quick run and drop off the sandstone. I mean, we got shulkers, right? Let's just throw it on. As long as we have an ender chest, I guess. Let's just put them into shulkers. Do we already have more sandstone? I think that was all we had, right? Can we just put it in here for now? Yes. All right, that's good. Now let's put this box back where it belongs, or where it temporarily belongs in its marked spot. Now, we're going to have a lot of wood. We're not going to need a lot of saplings. Leave those out here by the crafting table. How did I... Oh, that's sand. Let's hold on to that for the time being. And I do kind of want to carry these... No. I mean, I can't see us needing a ton of trees, but... Let's do this. Oh, that was empty. Awesome. All right, so we can do dirt and stone and stuff. We'll use the green for any lingering trees. That does save us all that wasted time going back and forth. And we're going to try to do this fairly wide, just to make the navigation easy. So I think that's 3. Yeah, this will be good. There's our 5, and then we'll cut a kind of a walkway path alongside as well, because canals have those. If you guys have ever been along especially like European or Eastern Coast U.S. Now, out here in Colorado, we have a lot of canals too, but they're they're more like irrigation ditches, honestly. But they can be massive because out here, where we're fairly arid, a lot of the water and stuff comes from the mountains, from snowmelt. So cities will buy that water. There's actually some pretty good, if you go on YouTube, I'm sure you can find them. They're like Colorado PBS documentaries on some of the water, like Denver water and Colorado water, and how those organizations manage the water and like decide who gets it, who doesn't. And it's even more interesting when you start looking at the whole western states and water, and how, for instance, we have a lot of limitations on how we can use our water because maybe it's California, maybe it's Texas. Farmers in downriver states, so like we're on the Continental Divide, so a lot of our water goes east towards kind of up north through Nebraska in the Platte drainage, and then down south eventually into the El Paso through the Arkansas River. And the El Paso River itself actually starts, but or the Rio Grande, I'm sorry. All those kind of start in Colorado, but the Arkansas drainage is a big one, and the Platte, and St. Vrain is up further towards Fort Collins. All those are Front Range river systems, and there isn't as much land for those rivers to originate on, I guess. Um, Maybe let's do dirt into here. I mean, oh, you know what? I'm going to do dirt into a box that we will build from these logs because I don't want to carry it back. So we're just going to make a bunch of chests. We'll make a double here. Stone and all that has more value, but we've got so much dirt. Not counting all the stuff that we have back at the hole we just dug. So that can be dirt box. This can be more random stuff box. And let's go ahead and sleep. I don't know how we got talking about water, but it's cool. I mean, like, it's pretty important, right? So it's good to understand this stuff. You know, we all talk about like finances and all that, and who controls what, and how much access do you have. Water's a big deal too. When you think about how much climate-y stuff goes into the news, and how much everybody likes to talk about, pollution and solar energy and all that kind of stuff. Well, if not as important, I mean, I think every bit is. I'm just, for the amount of time, you may not think it's as important, but I would argue it really, really is. And not so much just, the cleanliness, but just where is the water? Where does it go? And who controls the rights to it? Because, for instance, did you know that here in Colorado, like, a lot of people are like, oh, we'll live naturally, live off the grid, and just be self-sustaining. And one of the things that people like to do are rain barrels, right? You get off city water. You set up a collection system on your roof, maybe amid solar panels. I don't know. I'm not one of these people. I live in an apartment. But you collect the rainwater that falls, and you have big plastic kind of cask-sized barrels that collect all this water. And it's the old school. They literally used to be casks that before running water was really a deal. Pretty much everybody had one of those. Either had that or a well or both. But from sailors to everybody else, everyone knows water is one of those things that does fall from the sky, and you're a little bit foolish to not make use of that when it comes. So a lot of people do, but it is very much not allowed. Now, how rigorously it's enforced, I don't know. But for instance, Boulder, which is a little west of me and where I went to school and everything, and a beautiful, fun little town to go hang out in. Not so little. It has a lot of. It is a city and a county, first of all, but a lot of the parts of Boulder are up in the foothills, so you wouldn't really think of them as being a part of the town. And there it is. They'll go write you a citation if you've got barrels collecting the water. And the problem is that all of that is drainage for, from there it's one of several, but it could be Boulder Creek, or Left Hand, a couple of examples of creeks up there. And, your water, your land that you bought and live on, build a house on, is a part of the drainage of that river. Like, the snowfall and all that falls on the hills. And The states that those rivers serve, they count on that water as much as we do or anybody does. And when when all of the things actually got legislated, because I assume I haven't really looked into this enough to speak with authority, but I assume that somewhere in the 1800s and 19th century, there began to be problems, probably in drought years. They had drought years too and talked about them. Said, "Oh my goodness, look at these fires, look at this drought. This is as bad as it ever gets. It's awful." And it certainly is, and they certainly had devastating fires as well. They being just people, wherever. Um, but they would run into the problem that here you are sitting in, I don't know, let's say Grand Island, Nebraska, right? I'm making this up, totally fabricated. I don't know that this specifically ever happened, but imagine, Grand Island, central Nebraska. It sits on the Platte River. Presumably was built on an island, I guess, and um, all those people are like, hey, we built this town on this island because, for one thing, there's a lot of water. There was some limited transportation, although the Platte is a pretty non-navigable river even by that point. Um, but there's steady water, and I'm assuming you can kind of pull barge some stuff along there. Back in the day, you could, and it ultimately became um, the path of the Transcontinental Railroad, going through, use that same valley because river valleys tend to be fairly um, ooh, let's do this. That was not what I wanted to do. That, that, and that. So that'll be our water cut, and then we'll have to figure out what looks good for the edge on the diagonal. So anyway, you're a farmer or a town shopkeeper or a school teacher or whatever in good old North Platte, or I'm sorry, not North Platte. That could be too. That's the name of the river, and there's a town named North Platte, Grand Island. Wow. North Platte, Nebraska, and Grand Island, Nebraska. Coffee's just beginning to start having its effect today. It's got a while to catch up. Um, and on a hot summer day, suddenly that river that at best of times isn't super deep, um, deep enough, but not massive. It just runs dry, and what you find out is that I'm going to pick on my own state here, but let's say uh, those greedy folk up in Julesburg, Colorado. They got worried because a drought was, it had been hot and dry and their wells dried up. So what did they do? Well, they just decided one day to open up a little sluice gate on the edge of the river, some little channels that they dug, and filled up a bunch of ponds, and basically just said, "Hey, we're worried about water, so we're going to store some." Well, when the river is only flowing at so many CFS, which is cubic feet per second, and a rivering term that you get to know if you ever do any whitewater rafting. It's kind of the measurement of flow. And in the spring, as you can imagine, when you do a lot of whitewater rafting or the early summer, that CFS is really, really high. There's a bunch of water coming down the course, and that's when most of the erosion happens and all that kind of stuff because there's enough of it constantly pushing, and it's up high, and so pushing down on the bed and into whatever rocks and trees and stuff are along the shore, and does that cutting. Well, um, in the later summer, as the snow in the mountains has melted off, those CFS numbers go way down because then you're only getting um, water based on rain or springs or whatever other sources there are there. But that um, great influx of water from the spring runoff is dried up, gone. So there was enough of that, and even more so, ranchers and people who had no human need for water, but were like, hey, in this relatively dry and inexpensive land, I can raise massive amounts of livestock as long as I have water. Well, you just cut one of these channels, like across 10, 15, 20, whatever miles worth of uh, unclaimed or your neighbor's land and divert a river and kick it over to fill up some ponds. Well, now you can raise 1,000 head of sheep or cattle or whatever and have enough water where otherwise you wouldn't have any chance. And too bad for anybody downstream. They're 1,000 miles away. You don't know them, they don't know you, and so who cares, right? And it was that kind of a situation that said, you know, the people downstream have rights to these uh, historic and persistent waterways, right? That these have always been a part of the legacy. So, and everywhere, this makes sense, right? You don't just want to um, let anyone start cutting into who gets the rights to water, and so um, that really can affect things like water demands um, as they go through. Because like California is the other side example. The Colorado River basically connects or collects most all of the water flow from the western slope. There are a number of different rivers up in the mountains, as you may well imagine. I don't know how much that um, is commonly known for most folks. So now, if this is going to be our 5 wide channel, we probably want... Do we want 2 wide so it's not just little hoppy spots? Or do we just want 1? I guess let's just start with 1. If we ever decide to try to make this into more, we can, but we're not going to really be towing boats along here. Also, going way back, the very often some canals would only have a single tow path, right? They would Especially if there were two channels, they would keep uh, the towing animals only on one side. Um, I guess that talks to the level of commerce, right? Because you can't very well have boats going in opposite directions pass each other with a draft animal cruising along. So this is what I guess this is right, and the torches were placed on our actual channel. All right, let's get this. Ugh. Ugh. So I don't know what's worse, going back and forth like this. I think that just jagged back and forth as you try to push straight is pretty bad. All right, now here we already cut this one as open. Right, that's gonna be the walkway. It's alright. I kind of changed subjects there a lot on the on the towpath. So long disjointed story short is you California or any downhill state from Colorado has rights to negotiated amounts of water, and it's kind of bought and paid for. And a lot of these things go back hundreds of years and have to be adjudicated because we're changing, our population and the demands on water. And it's like, hey, Omaha also has the Missouri. I know it's at Council Bluffs there, big river, but Mississippi's on the other side of Iowa, I think. Okay, this was gonna be cut in. Let's get a new light source there. Just kind of take this time by time. These are the big cuts, right? The rest of it is just kind of low trim work. We'll have to fill too, but getting a lot done here. And I know you guys may be like, dude, what? It's water, man. I think it's pretty important. It's pretty fascinating. And the fact that there are organizations that represent these states and have real, weighty legal arguments as to that's our water, no, that's our water, and no, our population has a right to so much of this, even though they've grown, us, all of us have grown so that all cities are much bigger now than they had been um, back a while ago, right? So let's. I don't even have a bucket of. Oops. I guess we got buckets in the ender chest, so we're good there. All right, dirt and stuff, and then stone. Let's put these things into stuff. Even coal ore, we'll make a re-pull on that, but we can maybe just make a mixed bag shulker and keep this one for stone. I don't think we're gonna have too terribly much gear. Let's take them all. Oh, we're full. All right. Boop, boom. Now we can kind of float all this. And then oh, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. I guess this is probably quicker. And I haven't really talked about it. We talked about it too much yesterday. But for anybody who's catching this one and hasn't followed, we are making a boat path to get villagers from a village right over there to the proximity of our spawn location so that we can do up an iron farm. And as I said, I did hang out with Jester. He does a lot of farms in his builds, and he confirmed that no, there are no issues or changes with the Logical Geek Boy iron farms in 118. They're kind of the standard. If you play hardcore and know farms in Java, you're probably familiar with that iron farm. I haven't built it in quite a long time. For one thing, we've been for the better part of a year, I've been busy with you guys, and I kind of said, hey, I just want to focus on getting How Did We Get Here done, and I was kind of saying along the way, minimal farms like darkroom spawner. I kind of consider that basic starting gear. Right? It's just something you're going to be a lot better off having than not. So while this is still dry, let's throw it on the bed. Just checking because I'm totally caught up. 33 minutes. All right, not bad. We can get certainly all of this flooded, if not a whole lot more. Now these I think will still work, but it's a little more funky on the pattern. Come on, still work. Yeah, it's catching up. Yeah. Stuck on the wall. Hope that was close enough. Oh, I don't think it was. You guys all fill back in. Did I miss one here? Yes. There. Don't do that. Alright. To there. 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 And then... Oh! Where did he come from? Trees. Alright. Good reminder. Let's... do some of this. And I think once we get outside of our little cavern, I want to take all these down as well and just make this nice and broad so that hopefully that doesn't happen too much. Probably won't be that big a deal, but it is, especially with those trees, kind of a concern. Alright, so then we're going here. Feels a little... There we go. I lost. There we go. And we should probably trim these trees back a little bit more, but frankly, kind of like to just get on with it. Now, does this come... Can I just keep on this diagonal? Oh, look at that boat. I can keep on the diagonal, too. That's awesome. So let's just keep this going. Shovel is still holding up well. Donkey, you may get a bath if you don't watch where you're standing. Okay, and then somewhere coming over this way. There you go. Good donkey. Get out of the way. If this is our line, we've still got... I think that just always kind of tends to happen. You get bumped a little bit, that's like, yeah, you're done. Alright, we'll float you for a second tree. Go ahead and clean up that. How we doing on the... not too bad on the inventory, really. Not having the... Let's do this. It's kind of driving me nuts, and really it was just better to have the one bucket anyway. Old creeper blasty. Nice. Alright, now... we some of that. Looks pretty good from that side on. So that's our edge, right? There. And there. There you go, for everybody that wanted the bobble. Get some bobble. And then we still have this row to take back. There. Yeah, got bounced. Yes, yes, donkey. One coal while we can still grab it. Alright, we're doing pretty well here. Just these last few. Oh, and I think we have to connect the river up. I was like, hey, we're done. It didn't even take us a full episode, but I think we do have to dig out another little section of the river, right? And I think we'll pull all of that sand when we do go. I guess we're full. Let's go ahead and flood so that then we can take the boat back. And hey, now we can do this again. I don't think that was quite far enough. We got this little, these little eddies. Pretty impressive. Oh, I thought that was a Enderman. That grass and that tree. Like, what? Now we got Enderman we gotta deal with? Alright. Not exactly the thing I want to have when I'm swinging a bucket back and forth. Much rather have a donkey. I believe I was still standing on that edge. Oh, okay. Just do that. Sleep on the beach. Hope there's no creepers. Oh, man. That sand, my own footsteps scared me a little. I can admit that. It's not being scared. Everybody gets scared. That's what we do when we're scared. Do we keep the canal dream alive, or do we give up? We keep it alive. All right. So that would seem to be a pretty decent start at a canal. Let's go borrow this boat. Go back over to our dig site. Oh, so people may have been wondering, like, dude, it's so excessive. You don't need that big a canal. I just think it's so much easier, especially on the diagonals, to not have um, jagged edges that have to come anywhere closer. You don't worry about it. Just get it on the line and go. All right, then sand, coal, wood. I think we had a. Did we have a different wood box? This is the wood box, right? Why did I put dirt in there? Goes in the dirt box. Sticks. Okay, let's go ahead and dump that. Keep one, but I think the rest of these should just get stacked. There we go. It's a little bit of extra space. All right. Before we go, even thinking, I don't have any place set up to put these villagers anyway, so not too worried there. But I do think we need a full path all the way back, or at least a scouting trip. And we can improve some of these just by clipping some of that island, giving us a straight shot, because I think this is our desired. And that would have to go. But then here, just go up top of the hill, do a little surveying. So there's what we'd like to be close to. And we've got all of this valley. And honestly, I don't remember quite what the spawn chunks were. I know they changed, but I don't think we have any problem bringing this back to here. Yeah, we're gonna bring it back to here, and then if we were just to do that little bit, we'd be connected all the way over to there. Just saying. Um, we could do this. Do we then make the attempt? Because what that adds maybe a half an episode after what we just did, and I think we still got some time here, don't we? That's 48. We can certainly get. Oh, I need to get back to the game. We can certainly get uh, into all of this stretch. But what I was gonna say is I don't know what the range and all of the current mechanics are on finding the center of our spawn. The way that I've done it in the past is to do the objects on the ground and kind of get the parameter that way, so you can figure out what chunks are loaded and what aren't. And it's a really simple system that we can look at a bit, and we can certainly use as a test wherever we want to make this. But I wish I knew just a starting point, or what the. Let's do this while we're here and we're thinking. How large are spawn chunks? 16 by 16 chunks. The spawn chunks usually consist of an area, but I don't know 1.18 specific, right? I don't want to get old. still says 16 by 16. Okay, this is from the wiki. Let's look at this. Um, Spawn chunk is a chunk within the area surrounding the world spawn point. These chunks are special in that ads will pop up and move the text off screen. Especially in that they will not be unloaded from memory regardless of how far away a player moves, so long as there is at least one player in the overworld. And that's important. Like, we can't go hang out in the nether or the end and expect that our iron farm will continue to run. Normally, only the chunks immediately surrounding the player are loaded into memory, right? That's our chunks, whatever chunk loading is going on. And it goes on to describe how when you're moving through the world, the chunks kind of follow you in a perimeter that are loaded, and the old chunks are getting moved out. Events processed in spawn chunks. The following events will occur without interruption in spawn chunks, regardless of player location in the overworld. Water and lava will flow normally. Lava can start fires on nearby flammable objects. Fire will spread to any nearby flammable objects. Dropped items will fall and can be moved by water or destroyed by lava, and will despawn after 5 minutes if not picked up by a player or collected by a hopper. Passive mobs such as baby animals and villagers will grow into adults. Sheep will eat grass and grow wool. Sand and gravel will fall if the block below is moved or destroyed. TNT will fall and explode. Blah, 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 more TNT stuff. Mechanisms. Minecarts, hoppers, dispensers, and redstone mechanisms will all operate normally. Minecarts will travel around and trigger detector and activator rails. Pistons will extend and retract. Villages can be created and deleted as villagers move about and doors are broken. Iron golems will spawn and villagers will breed if all their conditions are met. That is critical for us. Okay. Things that don't happen. Several game events require that the player be within the chunk update range in addition to having the chunk loaded into memory. These are, things that wouldn't be happening just because you're in spawn if you move away or out of range. Crops do not grow, so you can't set up like our base farm area here. And grass and stuff, like all the dirt that we just uncovered there, even if those were within spawn chunks, the grass would not grow out to fill up. So one thing, even though sheep can eat grass and grow their wool, if you have a farm that depends on them having the green grass to eat to refill, that piece is a choke point. Hostile mobs will instantly despawn if they spawn more than 128 blocks from any player. This includes zombie pigmen at nether portals and witches in witch huts. Hostile mobs will stand still and not move if they are 32 blocks away from any player. Passive mobs will not spawn naturally more than 240 blocks away from a player. Passive mob spawn cap is limited by the number of friendly mobs loaded into memory. This means that any passive mobs present in the spawn chunks count towards the mob cap and will usually prevent friendly mobs from naturally spawning anywhere else in the world. That's something to be aware of. The only exception is when passive mobs spawn as part of a newly generated chunk. So that's why, and it's kind of a misconception for me too. I guess I've probably known this and just forget it conveniently because for so long it's been a deal. But in hardcore, you don't get new cows, sheep, pigs, anything like that when you go around and just kill them. It's why I'm so much about making the farms. The problem is that right around this area where we're standing right now in the game, we have a whole ton of mobs already there. And so that passive mob cap is met, and that's all you can do. Ice does not form or melt unless the player is within range. So if you make an ice farm, you can't do anything with it. Spawn chunks, other dimensions. All right, finding the spawn chunk usually consists of an area of 16 by 16 chunks, centered as close as possible to the world spawn point. Excuse me. Entities are only active if all chunks in stupid hiccups area of 5 by 5 chunks around them are loaded, limiting their activities to an effective area of 12 by 12 chunks around the world spawn point. The exact rule includes chunks whose center is less than or equal to 128 blocks away, blah, blah, blah. 17 chunks will be loaded along that axis, of which 13 activate entities. Determine the world spawn point. A compass will point to the spawn point, so we can kind of use that to dial down in on it. The following will only work for players not connected to a bed. In adventure mode, the northwest corner of the blocks players spawn on is the world spawn point. Creative, we don't care about entities other than players falling into the exit port only and will land on the spawn point exactly. Items thrown in will mark the spot in the overworld. Players will spawn like they normally do. We understand that to be with the exception of shulkers. So hopefully, otherwise we just made a big old mess. But we do have our spawn marked. We can test all that with the compass and everything. But basically, our iron farm will have everything that can go, and we just want to make sure that if the entities are only active if all chunks in an area of 5 by 5 chunks around them are loaded, limiting their activities to an effective area of 12 by 12 chunks around the world spawn point. So 16 by 16 is the spawn chunks, but 12 by 12 is as far out as you can go to have the rest of the chunks loaded to make that spot active. So anything that we want on our farm has to be no more than 12 chunks. And remember, a chunk is 16 blocks. So, and then it says the exact rule includes chunks whose center is less than or equal to 128 blocks away from the world spawn along both axes. In 17 chunks below. The exact rule includes chunks whose center is less than or equal to 128 blocks away. All right, so basically we have that full 128 block perimeter, which if you think of our darkroom spawner, I mean, one, that's the height, but two, all the area around that we try to clear out is pretty big area. So we got a lot of room. So as long as we are 128 blocks from our spawn, which we should make a pillar or something. I think we marked it. Compass is back at the other place. Shoot. Well, I kind of wasted a lot of this time, but we'll come back through here because we don't know exactly how far we want to get in this section, but compared to going through the mountain and all that, it'll be pretty quick. So another episode after we've determined exactly where we want to get this boat to, clearing up some of these things just to make it easier to navigate quickly, so that this can be just a speedboat, not a windy boat ride. And then we'll be good. Good to get into farm building or seeing if we don't just try one of these boats. I don't think the boat is very likely, but compared to building a whole monorail, I don't think I have a compass in here, but I think I do in here. Oh, dang it. Do I have the stuff to make it? how are we doing on time after all our reading, our story time? Oh, we're at an hour. Okay, no worries. We will. Let's take just a hair of time to put this and this away. For now, these can go in there. We got a little extra space at the moment. So we will use the compass to go dial in exactly where we are on our spawn point, um, and then count out to make sure that what's our effective range of building the farms and making sure that they're not outside. We should have plenty of room. No worries there. We got loads of room to make a nice big iron farm, which whether we need to use it or not for how did we get here is going to be useful. So if everything else was perfectly normal, Iron Farm would probably be right up there with Enderman Farm as things that we want to do after we get done with how did we get here. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out and listening to water flow analysis. I think it's fascinating stuff. If you're into that kind of documentary and all that kind of stuff, go check out on YouTube and stuff like that. Western states water rights or legislation, and if you put documentary in there, you'll get some good stuff. You may get some crazy stuff too. But if you find anything from like PBS, Rocky Mountain PBS is the Colorado one, or the Colorado Historical Society, some stuff there. I'm sure the other states that buy that water probably don't have as much interest, but because we have so many different watersheds and flows, it's pretty interesting. So check it out. Anyway, stay awesome. Have a great day. I hope it is winter beautiful for you guys. We haven't started snowing here yet, but it's on its way supposedly, and snow totals through tomorrow night are looking at, for me, anywhere from a half a foot to a foot of snow. So we'll see how that all comes out. But take care, guys. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out. And remember, likes and comments, always appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't. You'll get to see all the updates all the way through our HCMC 100 completion. So take care. See ya.